My crush confessed that she likes me. Loud and clear. Alright, the whole thing started when we were pretty young. I always had a special place for her. She was Subo today I fucked up, and the way she talked was mesmerizing. The confidence she had was admirable. I'm introverted, so assuming you know the rest. We didn't talk much then. After that I switched schools, so obviously I lost contact. Few years passed by and I meet her at a school reunion of sorts. She barely recognizes me, kinda sad but whatever. I soon discover that she is on Instagram, so for the first time in my life I had decided to create a social media account for myself. I followed her on IG and she followed me back. So I started talking with her usual small talk in the beginning, memes and stuff. Later we got to know each other in detail, talked a lot, and by that I mean late nights most of the time. Our interests were very similar, not same. Surprisingly, she also liked my sense of humor. I didn't know that I was good at socializing. All things looked positive, so I shoot my shot, but she was very hesitant to answer me and tried to divert the topic. I stayed on the same thing and sure enough she friend-zoned me. This was followed by ghosting me for a while. I felt like shit. I couldn't let go of her, so I made up my mind that at least we could stay somewhat together if we were friends. After that I texted her again and our conversations seemed to pick up as if nothing happened. I understood that she's keeping her distance from people. I knew she faced some sort of trauma in her life, so I was being supportive and tried to help her. It bothered me like anything. Being a straightforward guy, I asked her if anything sad had happened. She didn't want to tell, so I tried not to bring it up again. What she did tell me was that she used to feel dejected and not good enough for anyone. I assured her that she was both today I fucked up and I always loved being around her. She felt happy. Fast forward few more months, we texted a lot, shared music, and we spent a lot of time texting. Things seemed positive again, but this time I choose to respect her and didn't bring it up. Couple days ago we were texting as usual and she didn't want to leave me on red. I causally suggested her to send me memes, so she sent me a whole bunch of memes to keep me occupied. Seen most of them, but the fact that she wanted me to not feel bored sparked joy in my heart. Later she gets back online and says she wants my collection of memes. Being a redditor, I had a buttload of them, so I sent her quite a few, including a few of my dark humor ones by accident. I don't know what happened, but she really liked them. All of a sudden she starts venting. She tells me everything. Multiple cases of sexual assault when she was very young. I don't want to go in much detail. No support from her parents. In fact, they were pressurizing her to excel in exams. She was already an excellent student. When she tried to approach her friends for help, she was either bullied or was told to not fake such stuff. FCK, those are holes. And I forgot about the verbal/physical abuse from her parents, along with gender discrimination, as she had an elder brother. Basically, I was broken-hearted. She faced a lot of shit. All of this made her lose her self-esteem completely, leading her towards self-harm and suicidal thoughts. I reassured her that she was both today I fucked up and attractive. Told her to be strong as she always was. She then proceeded to ask me why the hell did I have a crush on her. She said, "'Cause last time I checked I was still ugly AFXD. I was piecing all of this together, thinking about how I should respond as she waited. I don't know what took over me, but I was flooded with emotions, didn't know what I was texting her. I straight up told her that she means everything. I think about her all the damn time. I told her that she was like a priority to me, and I try to limit myself my emotional shit, just to keep her cheerful." She asked me if I still liked her. I was like, wasn't I being obvious? She then asked me, even after I shared my crippling mental health shit with you? I was like, even more than ever. There was a pause for a couple of minutes after this, so I text her again saying that she doesn't have to feel the same, and that this friendship of ours was good enough. So there were we sitting in front of two screens crying our asses off in the middle of the night. I then received the greatest message in my entire F/King life. She said, "Shut up, I like you too." Just couldn't believe what I had just read. I was like, "You do?" She was like, "Yes, very much." She then texted me, "Today's chat escalated real quick." I was like, kinda happy it did. She was like, "Feelings mutual, so what do we do now?" Talk about roller coasters. That night was something. So here I am drowning my high school sweetheart in love she wanted all her life. We're still in the phase of setting our lives. So that's that. Never gonna forget that day. Any advice is appreciated. /edit. My birthday's coming up on Jan 2, probably my happiest one ever. How old are both of you? She's 17. This next birthday I'm going to turn 17. That's a lovely life story and I'm glad you're happy. Do you two lovebirds live locally to each other? Sort of, yes. She recently moved to another city. Congrats, treat her well. My 44 meters, wife 41F was recently contacted by her ex-boyfriend / co-writer 36 meters, and I've grown a bit nervous. Hello everyone, let me first start by saying that my wife and I are very open, maybe way too open about our past and past partners and all that. She is my second wife. My first wife was big on fidelity and we broke up over her cheating. The ex and I share a son. My wife also has a daughter of her own from a previous marriage. We've been married for 5 years and our little blended family works well together. Too long didn't read. Wife's ex-boyfriend messages my wife about a writing project they worked on years ago. She cheated on her ex-husband with this man about a decade ago. I'm worried old habits will repeat. As I mentioned earlier, we are perhaps too open about our past relationships. Her first husband was a serial cheater. He was a musician and slept around with women from his gigs. She stumbled onto his emails only to learn that he was involved with 5 other women, one of which he'd gotten pregnant. Not wanting their child to grow up in a broken home, she wanted to save the relationship and reached out to one of her old internet friends for advice. We'll call him Chris. The two had been friends for 7 years up until that point but had never met. They were writing partners. In fact, before they lost contact they had been writing a novel together. She tells me that when she reached out for support he was very kind and had actually been recommending a lot ways to get past infidelity or what you should speak to attorney about, in general being a good friend. Somewhere in that they decided to revisit writing their book again. According to her they would casually flirt, but as they lived on opposite sides of the country they had no means to act. In all this she decided her marriage was dead and stopped trying to fix things. Checked out, I guess. She and Chris expressed mutual attraction and by the end of the year he flew out to meet her. She filed for divorce right after the affair got physical, and Chris moved later that year to be with her. To make a long story short, her daughter, who was only 5 at the time, didn't really take to him. As she says, he didn't do anything wrong, she just wasn't adjusting properly after the divorce and didn't like somebody replacing her father. My wife told him they needed to take a break due to this and due to the fact that he's a bit crass sometimes. She had only intended for it to be a short break, but he was apparently so hurt that he'd moved that far to be turned away 2 months in, and so he broke it off entirely. After months had gone by they reconnected to try and finish their book. They began sleeping together again during this time, but it was just a physical thing. They came close to finishing the book, but she started dating me. Thus they stopped sleeping together. She felt weird about having an ex hanging around once she got in a committed relationship, and so by her own admission she stopped returning his emails, which were all book related, with the same frequency, and stopped working on it on her end so much. He grew frustrated after a few months of this and blocked her on everything. Which finally brings us to a month ago. After 4 or 5 years of no contact he messages her out of the blue. He contracted COVID and nearly died. Chris contacted her because apparently in that time apart he rewrote the book without her contributions, managed to get published, wrote and published a sequel, and released his work came really close to not be finished if he died. He wanted to make it known that if something should happen to him that he wanted the rights of this thing turned over to her, as she knows how it will end, and helped create the story. Fair enough, that actually sounds nice. But then they get to talking. He's apparently writing a comic adaptation, and he invited her to come on board for it. He has a lot of the art done and she was very excited, showing me and explaining to me who all the characters were, their backstories, what she thinks he got wrong in the design. She also read the first book and is telling me which names he changed, what characters were and weren't in their version, the plot differences, and she seems to be having a lot of fun with it. I knew they wrote together, she's mentioned it before, but I had no idea they had this whole universe created. I can tell it was something that was really important to her. She seems like she might take him up on the offer, and this worries me. Every time they've worked on something in the past it leads to sex, and there is a bit of sexual content in their writing. I'm not the jealous type, and I certainly don't want to step on a dream she had buried, but I don't want a repeat of history. I'll admit I decided to snoop their conversation, and while he seems like he's been on the level and is only really discussing the project, she's pressing for information on his personal life. I wouldn't say in a flirty way, but she asked him if he's seeing anyone now, and when he answered no, he's too busy, that relationships just get in the way. She told him he needs to get back out there. That celibacy isn't a good look on him. We're pretty open about our past sex life, so I know her ex-husband was terrible at it, and once when drunk she said of Chris, don't let a great fuck convince you it'll be a great relationship. How the hell do I proceed? I know she was emotionally broken by her ex-husband and that's why she cheated, but she did cheat with this man. I've met him, he seems like an on-the-level guy, but they have a history that tells me something might happen. I want to approach my wife with my concerns, but I don't want to seem like an overbearing, controlling person. I want her to have her creative outlet, because she glows in a way I've never seen before when she talks about this book I barely knew anything about. It feels like it's something that was deeply important to her that she forced not to be important. I want that for her, but I don't want their interactions to escalate into something more like they have 3 times already. She's an admitted cheater. Biggest fact about a cheater is that they lie a lot. I'd be doubting her history with her ex right now. Beyond that, I'd just end it right now. Her wanting to start any kind of relationship with a guy that she always winds up fucking, that's just insanely inappropriate of her to even suggest. This to me would be her failing the long-term partner test. I would say a very acceptable boundary to draw is I'm not okay with you making a book with the guy who you left your last husband for. Context though, her ex-husband cheated and the relationship was a walking corpse for the last 6 months of it, Chris showing up in the last month. Because of my ex-wife I really don't like cheaters in general, but it's fairly easy to rationalize why she did it. Doesn't bring much comfort though when it's literally the same guy. As usual, print out this post, and hand it to your wife, especially since you say you two are so open with each other. You will never be more eloquent than what you just wrote. Good luck. Like someone else said, ask if you can be looped in on the project, and be introduced to Chris so he's less of an unknown quantity. It seems unfair to stop her from doing this when it's a universe she put so much thought and heart into creating. As a writer, I'd be devastated to pass something like that up. Not collaborating closely on sex scenes seems like a very reasonable boundary, though. Have you talked to her at all about your concerns? I did meet him briefly before. He and whoever he was dating at the time were coming out of a Starbucks as we were going in and we all chatted for like a half an hour. I don't know how much you can learn about a guy in such a short time, but he seemed nice enough. I could tell he felt awkward about it as one would. Thing is, she never painted him as a psycho or an asshole. She looks at the relationship as something she got wrong and feels sorry for hurting him. If I got into their whole relationship the post would have been 10 pages long, but as she describes it, they became internet friends in the early 2000s and they were in an online roleplay and writing group. They were very close friends and though there was some flirting they never did anything or sexted, just close friends. She says she latched onto him really hard when she found her ex cheating and that it was she who pursued him. Kind of monkey branched into a relationship with him for validation and he ended up with the short end of the stick. I don't think she wants him or regrets leaving him, but I know she feels terrible for what she thinks she did to him. My fiance's father cheated on her mother for 10 years at least. I'm the only one who knows. What should I do? In July my fiance's father passed away in a car accident. It was a very hard time for her, her sisters, and her mom. Me and him weren't overly close but we got along and respected each other, so I was pretty torn up too. Every year between Christmas and New Year's Eve, he'd make and show a family slideshow full of pictures and memories from the year. Their family wants to continue the tradition and her mom asked me to do it. I'm good with computers and she wanted me to use her husband's computer because it had all the pictures of their family from the year. I thought it'd be nice to have a section dedicated to the guy and show pictures from important moments in his life, like younger pictures, his wedding, him with all of his daughters etc. So I looked a little further back than I should have and learned some things I wish I had not. From what I can tell, he's been having multiple affairs for the 10 years and maybe even further back than that. He has romantic and intimate pictures with multiple women who are not his wife, and it seems like he maybe even went on vacations with these women. I was horrified and made all the pictures that were incriminating hidden. I'm thinking I should delete them to keep his name clean and just take this secret to the grave. But I know that's ethically the wrong thing to do, but I don't think I should ruin his memory for my future wife, Millen Sills.